All right, so are you ready to dive into this?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
Today, we're looking at some excerpts that you shared with us from Ibn al-Qayyim's book, Supporting the Distressed Against the Tricks of Satan.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like you're really interested in this whole idea of temptation and how we resist it,
Yeah, definitely.
and al-Qayyim's take on it. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to kind of get into it.
Me too.
So kind of big picture.
Yeah.
What struck you about how al-Qayyim approaches this topic?
Well, to me, what's so interesting is he frames it as like a universal human struggle.
Okay.
It's not just like a religious thing. It's something that we all experience as human beings.
Okay.
This inner battle with temptation and doubt. And he uses this really interesting term was wasa,
Okay.
which is often translated as whispering.
Whispering. Okay.
Yeah, to describe the way these thoughts and these suggestions kind of creep into our minds.
Okay, so I'm guessing it's not like hearing an actual voice, though, right?
Yeah. Right. It's not like, you're hearing voices or anything. It's more like these subtle thoughts, these little nudges that we get that can sometimes kind of lead us astray or make us question ourselves.
Gotcha. So for someone who's listening to this and they're thinking like whispering, what would be like a real world example of that?
Well, think about, you've got a ton of work to do
Mhm.
and you're sitting down and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I should really clean my kitchen.
Yeah.
Or I should go, check social media, or I'll just watch one episode of the show.
Right.
Is that really you being lazy, or is that a whisper trying to distract you?
Ooh, that's creepy.
Right.
When you put it that way, it makes you kind of question
Yeah,
where these impulses coming from.
exactly. And that's what Al-Qayyim suggests, is that the really dangerous thing about these whispers is that they can feel like they're our own thoughts.
Right.
So we don't even realize that we're being influenced by something outside of ourselves.
So what's the solution then if we can't always even recognize when it's happening?
Well, Al-Qayyim says it's not about trying to avoid the whispers altogether, because that's impossible.
Okay.
They're always going to be there.
Right.
It's about developing the strength to resist them,
Okay.
to recognize them and say, no, this isn't me, this is a whisper.
Gotcha. So it's less about silencing those whispers and more about just having the willpower
Exactly.
to say, not today.
Yeah. And the more we do that, the stronger we become.
Okay.
It's like a muscle.
Right.
The more you work it out, the stronger it gets.
So essentially, we're training our minds to be more resilient,
Exactly.
both kind of mentally and spiritually.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're training our minds, but like, how do we train our minds?
Well, Al-Qayyim outlines 3 main ways,
Okay.
3 defenses against these whispers.
Okay. Let's hear it. Give us the tools.
Okay, so the first one he calls seeking refuge in God.
Oh.
Now, that might sound very specific to Islam, but the idea is really about turning to a higher power for protection and guidance. Right. Whatever that looks like for you.
Right.
It could be prayer. It could be meditation. It could be just connecting with something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, it's like calling on that inner strength or that sense of something bigger
Exactly.
to ground you when things get tough.
And that leads us to the second defense, which is remembering God's attributes.
Okay.
Again, this might sound kind of religious, but think about it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of focusing on all those negative whispers, what if we focus on qualities like mercy and justice and wisdom?
Okay.
How would that change your outlook?
I like that. Yeah. So instead of getting caught up in the fear and the doubt, you're shifting your focus to something more positive.
Exactly. And it helps you to see things from a different perspective.
So it's about consciously choosing which thoughts to entertain.
Right. And then the third defense Al-Qayyim talks about is contemplating the hereafter.
Okay. So that sounds a little heavy.
Yeah, it can sound heavy. I mean, it is referring to the afterlife in Islam.
Right.
But what it really boils down to is thinking about the consequences of our actions,
Okay.
not just in this life, but in the long run.
Okay. So not just getting caught up in the immediate gratification.
Exactly. It's about thinking about the bigger picture.
So like short-term pleasure, long-term pain, kind of?
Right. And are we making choices that align with our values?
It's like considering the consequences of everything.
Yeah. And that brings us to another really important element in all of this, which is knowledge.
Okay, so knowledge, why knowledge?
Well, Al-Qayyim believed that the more we understand about ourselves, about the world, about our own weaknesses, the better equipped we are to resist temptation.
So it's like know thine enemy kind of thing.
Exactly. The more you know about your enemy, the better you can fight them.
Right, because if you don't understand something, you can't really defend yourself.
Exactly.
So self-awareness is key here.
Absolutely. And Al-Qayyim goes even further. He talks about how Satan uses our desires and our fears against us.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like he
Wow.
knows our vulnerabilities and he exploits them.
So it's like those ads that pop up that are like, perfectly tailored to like
What's that?
you're just thinking about.
Yeah, it's like they know exactly what you want, even if it's not good for you.
Exactly.
But the good news is that Qayyim says just knowing this can be helpful.
Okay.
Because once we're aware of those tactics, we're less likely to fall for them.
It's like shining a light on those whispers so they can't hide in the darkness anymore.
Exactly. It's like you're taking away their power.
So knowledge is power in a way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're starting to arm ourselves, but what are the weapons?
Well, he talks about faith, reason, and good deeds as our main weapons.
Okay, I like that.
Faith connects us to something greater than ourselves, gives us strength and purpose.
It's like an anchor.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeps you grounded when things get tough.
And reason helps us to critically evaluate those whispers
Right.
instead of just blindly following them.
So it's about engaging our critical thinking skills.
Right. And then good deeds are like a proactive attack against negativity. When we focus on doing good, it creates this positive energy.
Okay.
Is it harder for those whispers to take hold?
So it's like you're filling up your mental space with good things so there's no room for the bad.
Exactly. It's like crowding out the darkness with light.
Okay, I like that. But how do we actually put all of this into practice in our daily lives?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And luckily, Qayyim gives us some pretty specific advice.
Okay, give us the goods.
All right, so one of the key things he talks about is guarding our thoughts.
Okay, guarding our thoughts. What does that even mean?
It means being mindful of what we allow into our minds.
Okay.
Just like we're careful about what we eat,
Okay.
we should be careful about what we feed our minds.
So it's like being selective about the content we consume.
Exactly, and the people we surround ourselves with.
Right, the people we hang out with.
And even the environments we spend time in.
So it's about curating your mental diet in a way.
Exactly. And it also means being proactive in replacing negative thoughts with positive ones. So it's not enough to just try to like shoo those bad thoughts away.
Right.
You actually have to replace them
Okay.
with something better. Like, think about affirmations or positive self-talk, or even just reminding yourself of all your strengths
Right.
and the good things in your life.
It's like having an arsenal of positive thoughts
Exactly.
ready to go when that negative thought pops up.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then another thing Qayyim talks about is the importance of good company.
Right.
The people we surround ourselves with have a huge impact on our thoughts and our behavior.
That's so true.
Misery loves company, but so does like joy and positivity.
Yeah, it's like that saying, you are the company you keep.
Exactly.
If you want to be more positive,
Yeah.
you got to hang out with positive people.
And then finally, it's important to remember that this is a journey.
Yeah.
It's not like you just wake up one day and you're immune to temptation. It's something that we have to work on constantly.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
The idea that Qayyim actually breaks down different types of whispers.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So he doesn't just say all whispers are bad.
Okay.
He actually categorizes them.
Okay.
So, for example, there are whispers that target our faith,
Okay.
making us doubt our beliefs or question God's existence.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are whispers that exploit our desires,
Right.
tempting us with things that are harmful or forbidden.
So like playing on our weaknesses.
Exactly. And then there are whispers that prey on our fears and anxieties.
So those are the ones that would be like really hard to resist.
Yeah, they make us feel overwhelmed and hopeless.
Wow. So he really breaks it down.
Yeah,
Like almost like a taxonomy of temptation.
that's a great way to put it.
So you can really understand like where you're most vulnerable.
Exactly, because different people are going to be vulnerable to different types of whispers. So the more we understand about these different categories, the better we can defend ourselves.
Right. It's like knowing your enemy
Exactly.
and knowing where they're most likely to attack.
Yeah, and what I find so empowering about Qayyim's work
Yeah.
is that he doesn't just leave us feeling helpless.
Right.
He emphasizes that we have a choice.
Okay.
We're not victims of these whispers.
Right.
We have the power to resist them.
So it's about taking ownership
Exactly. It's about reclaiming our agency.
of our thoughts
Yeah.
and of our actions.
Right. And choosing how we respond to these whispers.
So it's not about being perfect.
No, not at all.
It's about making a conscious effort
Yeah,
to do better.
exactly.
Okay, so this is really making me think about all those little whispers I encounter every day
Yeah.
and how I can use these defenses to be more resilient.
I think that's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's not about achieving some unrealistic state of perfection.
Right.
It's about consistently trying to be better.
Yeah.
To be more aware and to use these tools to navigate the challenges.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier that Qayyim takes this idea of whispers even further.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't just talk about them on an individual level.
Right. He actually applies this concept to society as a whole.
Well, hold on. He goes macro on us.
Yeah, he goes big picture.
Okay, I need a minute to process this.
So basically, he suggests that those same whispers that tempt individuals can also influence entire communities,
Okay.
Leading to things like discord and division and corruption.
So it's like those negative thoughts are contagious.
In a way, yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about our personal struggles.
No, it's about the struggles of society as a whole.
Whoa, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, it is when you think about it.
So what are some examples of these societal whispers?
Well, think about things like materialism and greed.
Okay.
Whispers that promote those things can lead to economic inequality and social unrest.
Right.
And then whispers that sow seeds of distrust and suspicion between different groups. That can fuel conflict and division.
Okay, so it's like those negative forces that are always trying to pull us apart.
Exactly.
And this is where it gets really relevant to what's happening in the world today.
Right.
All the polarization and division we see.
Yeah.
It's like Qayyim was warning us about this centuries ago.
He was ahead of his time.
So what can we do about it?
Well, just like with individual whispers,
Mm-hmm.
we need to be aware of these societal whispers.
Okay.
We need to critically examine the ideas and ideologies that are shaping our world
Right.
and ask ourselves, are they serving our collective well-being?
Right. Are they helping us or hurting us?
Exactly. And then we need to promote the positive qualities that counter those negative whispers.
So things like justice and compassion,
Yeah,
unity,
yeah, those are the things that can bring us together.
instead of tearing us apart.
Right. And it starts with each of us
Okay.
making a conscious effort
Right.
to be more aware.
To choose good over evil.
Yeah.
Wow. This is heavy stuff.
It is, but it's also hopeful.
Okay.
Because it reminds us that we have the power to make a difference,
Okay.
both in our own lives and in the world around us.
Okay, so we've gone from these internal whispers of temptation
Yeah.
to these much broader societal influences.
It's all connected.
It really is.
And it all comes back to this idea of awareness and choice.
Okay, so how do we become more aware?
Well, I think a good place to start is with our own thoughts,
Right.
paying attention to what we're thinking
Mm-hmm.
and asking ourselves where those thoughts are coming from.
Okay.
Are they coming from a place of fear or anger or resentment?
Right.
Or are they coming from a place of love and compassion and understanding?
So being mindful of our mental state.
Exactly. And then once we're more aware of our own thoughts, we can start to see those same patterns playing out in the world around us.
Yeah.
The news, the social media.
The conversations we have.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So it's like Qayyim is giving us this framework
Yeah.
for understanding not just our own inner struggles, but
Mhm.
also the struggles of society as a whole.
And it all comes back to this idea of choice.
Right. We have the power to choose.
We're not powerless.
We're not victims.
Exactly.
Okay, so this has been really insightful.
Good. I'm glad.
We've covered so much ground,
Yeah, we have.
and it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have so much more to explore.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that I think is really interesting.
Okay.
The idea of seeking refuge in God,
Yeah, that's a really powerful concept.
especially through prayer.
Absolutely.
Because, we were talking earlier about all these different types of whispers
Mm-hmm.
and how they can be so tempting and so overwhelming.
Right.
And sometimes it feels like you need something bigger than yourself to help you resist them.
Yeah, I think that's where prayer comes in.
Okay, so how does prayer help?
Well, Al-Qayyim actually mentions a specific prayer for protection from Satan's whispers.
Okay, what is it?
It's, I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan.
Okay, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, it is. And, it's not just about the words themselves. It's about the intention behind them.
So it's like a declaration that
Yeah.
you're choosing to resist those whispers.
And that you're aligning yourself with a higher power.
Okay, and so do other faiths and spiritual traditions have similar practices?
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Well, some people meditate, some people recite affirmations, some people visualize a protective light surrounding them.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of different practices.
So it's like tapping into that universal human need
Yeah,
for something bigger than ourselves.
exactly.
Something that can guide us and protect us.
To give us strength.
Okay, so this brings me to another point that I think is really important.
Okay.
The role of positive qualities in our overall resilience to these whispers.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because it's not just about defense.
Right.
It's also about cultivating those inner strengths.
Exactly. It's like building an inner fortress
Yes.
that can withstand those attacks.
So what are some of the specific qualities that Qayyim highlights?
Well, he talks about things like humility and gratitude,
Wow.
patience and generosity.
Okay, those are all great qualities.
Yeah. And they all play a role in making us less susceptible to temptation.
So it's like building blocks
Yeah.
for a stronger, more resilient self.
Exactly. So like with humility, for example, it helps us to recognize that we're not perfect.
Okay.
You know, we all make mistakes.
Right.
And that's okay.
It's about being humble.
Yeah. And when we're humble,
Mm-hmm.
we're less likely to fall into those traps of arrogance and pride.
Right, because pride can be blinding.
Exactly.
It can make you think you're invincible.
Yeah. And then you're more susceptible to those whispers that tell you you're better than everyone else.
Right, you start believing your own hype.
And then you make bad decisions.
Right.
So humility is really important.
Okay, so humility is one building block.
Yeah.
What about gratitude?
Gratitude is huge
Okay.
because it helps us to focus on what we have instead of what we don't have.
So it's about appreciating the good things in your life,
Exactly.
even the small things.
Yeah. And when we're grateful,
Mm-hmm.
we're less likely to be tempted by those whispers that tell us we need more.
Right, we're not constantly chasing after that next thing.
Exactly. We're content with what we have.
And that contentment brings peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so humility, gratitude. What about patience?
Patience. Oh my gosh. Patience is so important, especially in today's world where
Yeah.
everything is so instant.
Everything's got to happen right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So patience helps us to wait,
Okay.
to delay gratification,
Mm-hmm.
to resist those impulsive desires.
So it's like that ability to say no to something
Yeah,
that you want right now.
exactly.
Because you know there's something better down the line.
It's like that marshmallow experiment.
Right.
You know, the kids who could wait for the second marshmallow.
They ended up being more successful.
Right, exactly.
It's like-
So patience is a really valuable quality.
Okay, so we got humility, gratitude, patience, anything else?
Oh, yeah, generosity.
Okay, generosity. Why generosity?
Well, when we're generous,
Mm-hmm.
we're focused on giving to others
Right.
instead of just taking for ourselves.
So it's like shifting your focus outward.
Exactly. And that can be really helpful in combating those whispers that promote selfishness and greed.
Right.
You know, when you're focused on helping others,
Mhm.
you're not so worried about what you're getting.
Right.
You're more concerned with what you're giving.
So it's like an antidote to greed.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got all these amazing qualities.
Yeah.
Humility, gratitude, patience, generosity,
And they all work together
Yeah.
to make us stronger.
and more resilient.
Right.
But how do we actually develop these qualities?
Well, that's where knowledge and wisdom come in.
Okay.
Qayyim believed that knowledge is essential for
Mhm.
understanding ourselves and the world around us.
So it's not just about having information.
No, it's about understanding.
Right.
It's about wisdom.
Okay, so how does knowledge help us develop these qualities?
Well, the more we understand about our purpose in life,
Mm-hmm.
the nature of good and evil,
Right.
the better equipped we are to make good choices.
So it's about having that clarity of
Yeah.
what really matters
Exactly.
and then using that knowledge to guide our actions.
Right.
So knowledge is like a compass
Yeah.
that helps us stay on course,
Exactly.
even when the storms of life are trying to knock us off track.
I like that analogy.
So where do we find this knowledge?
Well, it's all around us.
Okay.
In books, in nature,
Mm-hmm.
in our experiences, in our relationships.
And most importantly, within ourselves,
Yeah. We have to be open to learning,
to grow.
to expanding our understanding of the world.
Okay, so for someone listening to this who's like, okay, this is all great,
Mm,
but where do I even begin?
yeah.
What's one small step they can take?
Well, I think a good place to start is with self-reflection.
Okay.
Take some time to really think about your values, your
Mhm.
goals, your aspirations.
What's important to you?
Exactly. And then ask yourself, what are some small things you can do each day
Mm-hmm.
to move closer to those things?
So it's about setting intentions,
Yeah. And then taking action.
even if it's just a small step.
Exactly.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Qayyim's work,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the most important thing is that we have a choice.
Okay.
We're not victims of our circumstances.
Right.
We're not powerless against these whispers.
We have agency
We do. We have the power to choose how we respond to challenges.
to choose good over evil.
Exactly. And that's a really empowering message.
It is. It's a message of hope,
Yeah, and it's a message that's relevant to everyone,
no matter what your background.
no matter what your beliefs are.
We all have this power within us.
Exactly.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation.
It has. I've really enjoyed it.
I've learned so much,
Me too.
and I hope our listeners have too.
I hope so.
So to everyone listening out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, you have the power to choose your own path.
Absolutely.
So go out there and make it a good one.
And until next time.
Keep seeking knowledge.
Keep asking questions.
And keep striving to be the best version of yourself.
That's it.